and welcome to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I'm Robert Haynes, your host and your guide into the world of TSM's LCS team. And, you know, wow, I don't know how to even say this. It's an interesting world out there right now. I'm recording this on Thursday, the 24th, the same day that some global events have happened that are really shaking up the world right now, to say the least. And while, this show's not political or anything like that, and I'm not going to dive into it too much, I just hope that if there are any, listeners out there who reside anywhere near what's going on, or are involved in either of the countries that are involved, that I hope you're staying safe, and I hope that I can hopefully provide a distraction for everybody, because it has taken me a lot longer to get everything together to record this podcast because of the fact that I personally am definitely distracted by what's going on, and yeah, it's going to be something that hopefully will, end quickly, and without too many lives lost, but we don't know. So, bit of a somber note, and I, don't want to, skirt away from large scale events that could be affecting even things like the LCS and the LEC. I mean, you gotta remember Gambit and like the CIS region, in Russia, like there's teams and players that are from these countries, and that play at Worlds every year, and so depending on how things go out there, this could very much affect what happens in even the League of Legends community. Not as much the LCS, but every in the European teams and everywhere else. So just keep that in mind, as we are, watching what happens in the world. But on to what theoretically should be, I guess, kind of a less somber note of sorts. TSM. We got to talk about TSM. So let's just head into this first area here. The first thing here is just TSM in the news. There's been a lot going on with TSM as a whole, and there's been a lot of different discussions and things happening that I wanted to discuss. So the first thing here is that, our boy Dominic Callis was on Hotline League discussing the situation and what TSM's doing and everything like that. And I didn't really watch the whole thing. I mostly read kind of the TLDR, and I can say that if people expected him to come out and actually give in-depth information or, discuss the roster or anything like that, and people who are saying, hey, he needs to be more transparent and everything, this is all strategic, right? There's no reason for them to, I mean them as in TSM, to reveal anything right now. Right? Because their hope clearly is to try to mend things with Shenyi in the main team, right? Their hope is clearly to try to make things better. And they don't want to tip their hat because, guys, like that's part of a strategic advantage, right? And by saying what's going on in the roster and trying to dispel or, encourage certain things, every word that you use, right, especially as the vice president, the person who's making all these decisions, could get back to the players. And, well, probably will get back to the players in most situations. And like, that can be demoralizing or, potentially encouraging, but likely only encouraging for one side and demoralizing for the other, right? And there's a reason why this happens in traditional sports and esports. The transparency of everything is not because they don't necessarily want the fans to know, that's part of it, but like the reality is they're holding it back for the protection of what's trying to transpire. Now, once the offseason goes around and once, some players have potentially left the team or something like that, you start to see and hear a lot more things that come out. But expecting it to happen during the middle of the season when the team is trying to recover from an 0-4 start, that's just super unrealistic and something that you guys should absolutely not expect. And so I defend Dominic. I don't know why he would take the spot unless if he was going to do a little bit more, but he's also just trying to show that he's being more open, that TSM is actually doing more interviews, that they are trying to be more communicative because, Dominic has already said more in the last 2 months than I remember Lena or Parth or Reggie ever doing. Especially like even in a year, like when was the last time you heard about, a Lena interview when everything was going on, right? They really liked to keep everything private. They really did not want to say anything. Dominic's opposite. He is at least going out there and saying things. He's at least being communicative and as open as he realistically can be to TSM and LCS fans around the world. So give him a break. I'm sorry, but we are not entitled to any information, okay, regardless of what you believe. That is just not the case. Their goal is to make the org better and to try to win. Winning cures all. And all these things of being all upset and whatever about the answers that the team is giving right now in these situations is going to be forgotten if they somehow make a comeback and make playoffs, right? Or if they perform well enough at, during the summer to make it to Worlds. You're not going to be sitting here being like, oh man, I wish Dominic would have said something 3 months ago or, whatever. Like, get over it. Just get over it. Like, if he wants to give answers, he will. And if not, we're not entitled to anything right now. We're not. Regardless of what you think, that is just not the case. Continuing on, Tactical's interview with Travis was interesting. I watched it too. There wasn't a whole lot. Tactical seems like a good dude. Doesn't seem like he really enjoys doing interviews, though. Honestly, Travis is sitting here like trying to corral him, and they just start the camera already without him, paying attention. And I'm like, oh boy, I know that feeling, Travis. LCS players I don't think most of them enjoy doing interviews. Just gotta throw that one out there. I think they do it because they feel like they have to, and in all reality, for the fans and everything else, they kind of do need to. But regardless of my feelings on that, it is what Tactical was saying was that the team was going in a lot of different directions. They couldn't come together on one. And while Travis was, I think it was very interesting to see the distinction between Travis saying directionless and Tactical saying having too many directions. There are a lot of ways this team can go. They are very talented, but focusing on too many things at once, right? Having too many cooks in the kitchen, as they say, and too many thoughts and too many opinions on where they need to go, doesn't mean that they're directionless, right? It just means that they could go a number of different ways, right? They're not out there, just lost and trying to figure something out. Like, that's apparently, at least according to him, not what they're doing. They had directions that they could go, and they couldn't figure out which one was best for them. Then they apparently decided that Support Smite Top was their best one, and yes, it did net them their first win in dramatic fashion, and truthfully, because of the way that strategy is, it is such a coin flip, right? That we could have won 3 of those games, and to be honest, of our first 6 games, if a couple things go our way, we could easily be sitting at somewhere around 4-2 or 3-3 at a minimum. They didn't, and that's fine. Luck has not necessarily been there, and not only that, but just different aspects of skill and playing have not been there. So it's unfortunate, but that happens. And maybe once we finish up this first round robin, the second round robin will be kinder to us. I don't know for sure, but that's the hope, right? And so, I don't know, people who are trying to gather certain things on TSM, how would I put this? On their decisions with Yursan and everything else. Tactical's interviews are about as close as we've gotten to him making it seem like Yurson is just much more comfortable with this team. And that's kind of what we wanted to hear, right? Yurson being a stabilizing force for this team, right? He's not going to, try to push the team in a different direction. He's not going to try to push them off their off their rocker. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but you know what I mean. Like, he's coming in, he understands what's going on. His English is solid. He gets where the team is trying to go, and sometimes it just means that players just don't fit. And the only thing that I'm gathering right now is, at least in Tactical's mind, because he's been the one who's been doing most of these interviews lately, Yurson just fits better with the team than Shenyi. That doesn't mean that Shenyi can't later. That doesn't mean that Shenyi won't. That doesn't mean that the team doesn't want Shenyi to. It doesn't mean that they also don't want Yurson. But I think we all know that this team just looked better in those 2 games with Yurson. Just frankly, they just looked better. So if Tactical's saying that and this team starts winning games and they start performing better, fine. And he talked about Kaido too. I'm remembering now too about how quickly he's picking up in English and how well he's been playing and how he's really starting to mesh with the team. Like, it doesn't feel like it's a Chinese problem. And when I say Chinese problem, I mean like the 2 Chinese players, right? Like, or the language barrier necessarily being a problem. It just seems like it was really truly just more of a conflict of the way the game is seen. And with that, I think that TSM understand, and I think the one thing Dominic did say on Hotline League is they are not abandoning the China strategy, right? That, like, they still feel very confident in these players and what their goals are ultimately. And, I'm sure that if I was to be able to interview him again, he would say the same thing, right? It's tough to hear, and this is a part of growing pains, and I've had many a conversation of people who are like, well, why don't they just go out and grab the best talent and try to win now? Are Kaido and Shinyi going to be better than other people in the future anyways? Is that worth the wait? It's a strategy that has to be discussed, right? And I understand that. Coming from a person who has had 2 teams that have consistently done rebuilds because they have to do the best they can with the money that they have, TSM technically shouldn't be in that realm. They should be a team that is constantly using their money to further themselves. That being said, I think Kaido has a chance to be a top 3 mid laner at some point. He is mechanically very gifted. He has learned a lot about the game, and his biggest problem is within team fights. And he said, I think it was in TSM Legends last week, I want to say. Maybe it was the week before, where he talked about, he's learning how to play with a team and not just play for himself. And I can tell you, it doesn't matter what game it is. It doesn't matter what sport it is, what esport it is. Learning how to play with a team is tough when you've been so reliant on certain just muscle memory strategies that have gotten you to where you are, and tried to take certain things and tried to push certain areas. So, this is not uncommon. And for a player like him, it's just going to take time, and I think they're willing to give him that time. He's honestly generally impressed me overall, and even having to play 3 out of his last 4 games with this horrific strategy that basically just sees him being a farm bot, he's still gone out, made plays. He's consistently able to keep up and farm. Like, I think this guy's going to be really good if they give him a chance, and I hope they do. Mic check was also really interesting to listen to. It seems like the team still is having fun. I just don't. The one thing I worry about a little bit is that because they're so young, I just don't know that they're taking some of these games like super seriously. And maybe that's just me being, I don't know, older, or thinking that everything needs to be taken seriously. But if they're trying to win, right? And we've seen Spica, get frustrated last year specifically, right, with how the team was performing and what he wants them to do and everything. I don't know. It just feels to me like they, when I'm listening to these mic checks and, Yurson's the one trying to refocus them, I don't like that. I don't like that at all, actually. And maybe that's where Shenyi's frustrations are coming from, and maybe having Tactical and Spica and Hooney on the same team with the personalities that they have. Like, they're very interesting, obviously, and they're super fun, and they seem to be great people, but maybe they need a more serious voice, right? And maybe your son's providing that. I mean, good for him. I mean, this guy's stepping in there with no fear and just doing his thing. And I'm very impressed. Genuinely, I'm extremely impressed. I still think Shenyi's much better in terms of mechanical skills. I don't think that's too hard to see, but your son has looked at least serviceable, technically, and I think mentally he's there. Man, he's helping refocus the team. He's helping them win on certain calls. I mean, good for him. I like it. Let's just continue to see it. TSM Academy struggled last night. They play again today, I believe. It's, gonna be, a bit of a challenge, to be honest with you. And there's just no doubt in my mind that, even with Shenyi down there, that this team has a lot of issues. And while he looked like he was fixing things a little bit, last night, you see the angles, you see the things that he wants to do, right? Like, he sees the game, I think, as a pretty solid support. It's just, he's still struggling to figure out where the rest of his team fits in with what he is seeing and how to communicate that properly. I think he was lucky that, with Fun Plus Phoenix, right, when he came up with those 5 games, like, they clearly just see the game in the same way. And obviously being able to communicate in the same language made things very easy, comparatively. So I don't know what to say about him. I think he's extraordinarily talented, but I just don't think the pieces around him are in the same mindset or see the game in the same way. And that takes a lot longer than, a normal, week or 2 or even a month to get, fixed. So, unfortunate. TSM Valorant. They win the YFP Classic. Great for them. They were able to take out some random team. But, FaZe Clan, T1, and even their Academy team were in this tournament. I think their Academy team and the main team finished in the top 5. It's a third party. It's a smaller tournament. I think the price was only like $25,000, which is, maybe a lot for a common person and everything. But for these tournaments, it's, that's a smaller amount. And so when when I'm looking at them and seeing that, they needed to change some things up from what it sounded like, I thought they were going to make roster changes. Apparently they have not. I'm not, big in this, but, we're talking about TSM in the news. They won something. They won a tournament. Good for them. The biggest one, though, is that TSM, Rainbow Six, won a world championship. I watched a pretty decent amount of that versus Imperial, who I think had beaten them and knocked them down to the lower bracket earlier in the tournament. From what I remember watching, like, this team looked good. They look solid. I kind of enjoyed watching the games. I think Rainbow Six is very interesting to watch, and these players and these teams, they're pretty solid. So it was really cool to see, and good for them. I believe it's TSM's first world championship. Not just a domestic one, or, I guess, winning IEM and everything. I don't know if that counts as like a world championship, but at least, performing well internationally and winning a championship over every other team in the world. Rainbow Six TSM is now considered to be the best team in the world with their win there. That's kind of what being a world champion means. So good for them, and it was generally a pretty good week for TSM. Yeah, they won their first game in the LCS, and we got a couple other big tournament wins in the last week. So, yay! Da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's it for your TSM in the news. I wanted to do something fun there. If you guys hate it, it's fine. I get it. But now we head into week 4. And we have a super week. We are copying the LEC, although I think we may have done it first, where, last year we remember, guys, Friday night games, Saturday night games, Sunday night games, right? Those were fun. Now they're gone. Now we're into week 4, and we get them back. This will be the first time we get 3 games in a weekend since last summer, right? So, this one's going to be a tough week. I'm going to be honest with you. We are 1-5, and we are about to play two of the three best teams in the LCS. But we're also going to play, well, the team that's at least tied for us in the worst. So here we go. I'm going to stick with 3 keys to the game, and I want to be honest with you guys. The reason is for right now at least, I was doing the advantages and disadvantages, and I think that's a lot easier to do when your team is either in the middle, well, yeah, anywhere but like first or potentially last, right? I think instead I'm going to go back to 3 keys because right now we just don't look good. And our advantages are very minimal currently, unless if we show something new with this new meta that's coming out. With that, I think 3 keys is better, because there are ways for us to get advantages and there are ways for us to lose the game. But, there are just certain things I think we need to do in order to at least make it a good game at a minimum. That doesn't mean I don't think that we can win, because I genuinely think that we can. But I just think this is just an easier way of saying things and one that it's I don't want to fabricate advantages where they aren't. And I don't want us to be like, hey, we have 1 advantage and they have 5 disadvantages. That just doesn't work. It doesn't work. So we're going back to 3 keys of the game. So here we go. 100 Thieves. Number 1 is, in my opinion, is to give Kaiduo the keys. And what I mean by that is let him drive the ship. Let him drive the car. Let him drive whatever vehicle or whatever metaphor that you want to, right? Because, or I don't even know if that's a metaphor. Whatever, sorry. Whatever you want to use, let him be the one who is the carry this game. He has sat on the sidelines for so many of these games. I think they need to put the game in his hands. Abadage is a very good player, and he helped 100 Thieves win a championship, and he was arguably one of the best players or mid laners in EU before he left. Right, he's really come into his own, but he still struggles at times. He has those days where he has issues, with having an impact in the game. He doesn't generally lose games, but he struggles to have an impact. And I think this is an opportunity for TSM to allow Kaiduo to kind of explode onto the scene, right? To be, more than just this farming simulator guy. Give him a chance to carry, and I think it will pay off for them. The mid jungle duo is really important to 100 Thieves' success, and I think the ability for TSM to come in and try to push an advantage for Kaiduo, similarly to how they would do it occasionally, at least with Power of Evil last year. We haven't seen it this year. I mean, they really haven't. Like, Kaiduo is mostly getting his kills on roams and out of lane. He thinks that he is a lane god. Give him an opportunity to show it. If he drops the ball, then he drops the ball. It can't be any worse than what we've seen in our other standard compositions. So why not give him a chance to do it? I really think that it could help. And if the other thing is that if we can unlock, here's the thing is, it's like we have shown that tactical can carry. Good. This is great, right? Now, it did take a lot of resources, but I don't even think that the loss on Sunday to C9 was his fault. I think there was a lot of comedy of errors, and I think the karma just wasn't as strong as the Lulu. But we've seen tactical can carry. We know Huni can carry, given the right resources in the right situations. If we can show that Kaiduo can carry games, that makes us all that much more of a threat going into the latter half of, this split and in the summer and potentially playoffs, right? The most dangerous teams are the ones that can win through any lane or through any player, essentially outside of support, unless if you're a Core JJ or kind of Vulcan. I'm talking about LCS specifically. For me, this is an opportunity. Let Kaiduo cook, man. This is something that, with the Bengals, again, trying to do that, because now most people actually know who the Bengals are because of the Super Bowl. With Joe Burrow, there was a lot of talk about let him cook, let him do his thing. Now, Kaiduo is not our Joe Burrow. That's just not the case. But you got to let the kid actually play the game in a positively, impactful manner. And hopefully the mid-jungle synergy has been getting better. We are into, I think he's been here now for what, like 6-7 weeks? I would assume that Spica and Kaido are getting along better, that they are understanding each other's movements and the way the games are going. If Kaido gets fed, I think he can just carry us to a win in this game, because Spica will get fed off of that, and depending on what they do with Yursan and Huni specifically, I think there's just a lot of opportunities for this team to really start surprising some people and do what we need to do. So yeah. Other thing here is just don't give closer a comfort champion. No Viegos, right? Specifically, no Viegos. Preferably no Xin Zhao's and Lee Sin's. Now, Lee Sin's not as strong right now. So, for me, it's Xin Zhao and Viego. If we have first pick, then I want to see us take the Xin Zhao. So, ban the Viego, first pick Xin Zhao. Yay, that sounds good to me, right? We know what closer can do on these champions. He has looked MVP-like so far, this split. And has truly almost carried this team at times single-handedly. And it's funny because their record may not show it, and, they do lose games occasionally, I think mostly because of Abadage and Huhi, but I think some days actually looked amazing. I think FBI has looked pretty solid still. Like, this team is still very good, but they're extremely good when closer can almost full-on carry, and we saw it last week with the Viego. While they still lost that game, he was like a man possessed. It was unbelievable to watch. And so I'm going to challenge TSM. Like, just don't give him a comfort champion. Don't give him one that he has shown a lot of success on. I think that's way more important than, potential, I don't know. No, Smite support's still gone. I don't know. Like, I think that's better than a LeBlanc ban or something like that, or just, I don't know. Trying to think of really what you could ban. I don't know, trying to target ban someday. Like, I just don't think you can target ban anybody else except for maybe closer, I guess is kind of what I'm trying to say. Continuing on, I just think they need to go in with a concrete plan, because 100 Thieves are beatable. 100 Thieves lacks focus sometimes. They drop games that they shouldn't necessarily. And, every team is going to lose games here and there. They're going to have games that are not as good and they don't play as well as they should. But this team is very prone to losing to teams who maybe aren't seen as good as them or even as good as us to a certain degree. So I really, really, really want to see TSM just like freaking go for it. Really try to push the proverbial button here and really just come in with a plan of some type. I do not care what that plan entails, but just do it and stick to it. I think that's really all that we can ask for as TSM fans, because this team is we're making a lot of mistakes. We have nothing to lose, and 100 Thieves have a lot to lose. Just come up with a plan of some sort. I don't care if it is Smite support top, which I know you can't play anymore, but like any sort of whatever has been working for you during the week. Just come in and say, hey, we are sticking to this no matter what they pick, no matter what they do. We are not going to change it because we got to play to comfort and we have got to try to execute. If they do that, they at least have a good chance of beating a team that is truly very good right now. I am going to be extremely bold, and I am going to pick a win here. I don't know why, but there's just something in my gut that says that TSM have had a really good week of practice, and this is not leaks or anything. I haven't been told that. There are some weeks where I am told that. This is not one of them. I don't have scrim bucks, but there's just something in my gut that's telling me that like a full week of practice with Yursan and a win from last week, being able to build off that momentum and everything, I think that they can come out and beat 100 Thieves, guys. They are a beatable team. Like, that is, I normally wouldn't put that as like a key to the game, but it is so important for a team that has lacked seemingly confidence or structure or whatever you want to use. I think they can go out and get this done. So I'm predicting 1-0 to start the Super Week. Moving on. CLG. CLG. Oh boy, do I want to win here real bad. I mean, really bad, guys. I cannot describe to you how much I want to win this game. And I know that you guys do as well. So I'm not sitting here, saying anything crazy. But, God, it would just mean so much if we could pull out a dub here. Here's how I think we can make it happen. Pressure on contracts. I cannot emphasize this enough. Put him on his heels, right? Just be in his face. Make him make mistakes. He is going to. He has by far been probably even, you could argue, the worst player in the LCS this year so far. He has been just miserable in so many games. Yes, they pulled off a surprise win against C9, but then they got slaughtered by TL. Contracts is, I believe, still the most deaths in the LCS. He is consistently making really bad choices and mistakes. I don't want to see him struggle, but against us, I do. I like Contracts. I think he's a good guy, and I think CLG's trying to build a brand of some type around him, but he has not been successful. Spica is an MVP caliber jungler. He has got to start getting into the faces of these other junglers. They are not as good as him. With Yurson in there instead of Shenyi, the translating is going to be much smaller at a much, less. It's going to be much less of a problem, right? Communication is going to be easier. Kaiduo is smart enough and probably understands English enough to a certain point nowadays, right? It might take him a minute to translate and get everything right in his head, because that's the hardest part of it, obviously, is making those translations in your head. But there's no excuses anymore, in my opinion, for Spica to not find success like he did last week. I thought he played very, very well last week. I think that triple or quadrikill, whatever it was, that he got on the Xin Zhao, I was like, holy moly, this kid is just unbelievable. And it reminded me of just how good he is. This is the time. This game should be Spica all the way. They should not even care about the rest of it. Get him whatever he wants comfort-wise. Make sure that you play around him to invade and get into the face of Contracts. CLG are definitively, in my mind, not as good as TSM. There's just no way that we should be worse than this team. I'm sorry. I've watched their games. I've watched our games. Even with Yurson there, he is at least as good, potentially, if not better, than Poom, even when he's actually able to play in a team that's not terrible like the Academy team. I think Tactical, while Luger is playing well, is better. I think Kaiduo is at least as good as Palafox, probably better. And I know for a fact that Huni is better than Jenkins. So, there's just, I know this is, I am probably cursing us, but whatever. We just have to go in and put the pressure on Contracts, put them on their back heels. We've done a good job in our early game early on this year. Just pressure him. Make him make mistakes, right? Unforced errors, as they are called in traditional sports. Also, I would expect a ranged support, and they should play for aggression in the bot lane because of it. And what I mean by that is Spica and Kaiduo, I wouldn't mind to see a Kaiduo rise in this game, or a TF. Something I know he can play both of these champions. Communication is important, but Yurson and Spica, Yurson understands English. Kaiduo can at least say enough English to say, I'm coming, or I'm on my way, or ping that he is, coming to the bot lane in some way, shape, or form, right? He is roaming down there. And they've been playing a lot of ranged supports. I think that, even Thresh is technically ranged. I know that he's more of kind of that tweener between melee and ranged, but basically every other champion has been ranged for Poom. And so if that's the case, just expect it and either make a plan to play around it by playing your own double ranged comp in the bottom lane, or I would still love Engage, because one of the best parts about playing it is that you're going to get pushed in, and that's fine, because if you do that, then that opens up so many windows for ganks in a lot of different ways. And you give tactical something that I think you can maybe even jump out of, or jump in on to be a little more aggressive. I know the meta is not as much something like Tristana, Kai'Sa, but I feel like that would be good. Even a Kalista wouldn't be too bad here, honestly, if you ask me. I know you need something with wave clear, so it's probably just going to be Jinx Aphelios again, and that's fine. I get it, but I don't know. Shake it up a little bit. Definitely don't play Jhin, though. Definitely don't play Jhin. Mm-mm. Last thing here is any hopes of playoffs begin or end here. And I mean that. If we lose this game, no chance for making playoffs, in my opinion. There's no way. This is the worst team in the league, in my opinion. They're the only team that is tied with us in wins. And, if you want to, if TSM truly believe that they can push their way into playoffs, right, that they can make a run, you have to win 8 games at a minimum. Generally speaking, you should probably win 9. That means that we have to go, 8-4 for the rest of the season. At a minimum, 7-5. 7-5, I think, is very reasonable. 8-4 might be pushing it. There are a lot of good teams in the LCS this year, but I think with communication and everything else figured out, and I think players that can be top at their position, they haven't shown it yet, but they can be. You have to win here, in my opinion. I am predicting a win against CLG. I'm sure they're going to find a way to lose and then by some miracle beat TL and 100 Thieves but lose to CLG. I'm just going to say, by the way, if we find a way to beat TL and 100 Thieves and then we lose to CLG, I might be even more mad than if we just beat CLG and lose to TL and 100 Thieves. Because while it would help us record-wise, I'd be like, how did you not just 3-0? How did you not get us right back into it at 4-5? That'd be really frustrating. But yeah, I do think there's a win here at CLG, and I think that we start our hopes to the playoffs. I mean, that gets us to 3-5, heading into the last matchup of the first round robin against the best team in the LCS. 3-5 sounds pretty good to me. Just stating a fact here. I think that'd be great. Last one here, week 4. All right. Last game of week 4 here. Last game of the first round robin. Very important game here. Guys, Team Liquid's really good, and even with Core JJ not playing this week, don't really think it matters. Ayla has proven to be very good. Core JJ is straight up calling him the second best support in the LCS. I don't believe that's true, but I do think that he is very talented, and I do not think that he is a step down. So, here we go. Ban Zilean. Just don't give it to him. Just don't give it to Bjergsen, guys. We know what this champion can do. He's going to probably want to try to bring it out because here's the deal. Team Liquid, they're full of a bunch of vets, but they still like to troll probably a little bit too. If you think that Bjergsen has not been dreaming of this matchup for a while and has not been wanting to pull out his signature pick, either the Zilean or the Syndra, either one, honestly, into this matchup, then I think you're crazy. There's just no way that that's not true. And so if I'm TSM, just ban it. Just get rid of it. Don't even make it a possibility. Or, just ban it. I'm even going to say pick it for your son or something. I don't want to see it. Just get rid of it. It gives us a much better chance of winning, right? And I do mean a much better chance. I think, I'm pretty sure Bjergsen has a 70% win percentage on that champion. 7 out of 10 times he is winning that game. We're already in a bad spot. Do not give the man a champion that gives him an even better chance of beating us. The closest that we can get to a 50-50 coin flip, the better. Banning Zilean does that. Continuing on here, try to win through top. I actually think that that's where you can do it. It's going to sound stupid. Bwipo's been awesome. I think he's really, really good. I just think for some reason there's just something that's telling me that if TSM can play through Huni and they can put Bwipo on the back heel again, just put him off balance. I think that's enough for TSM to maybe try to pull something out here. I know it sounds really stupid, but it's just I remember watching Whippo so much on Fnatic, and one of the things that he struggled with at times was over-aggression and not being punished for it. He is still just about as aggressive, but the LCS teams haven't learned that you have to like punish him over and over and over again, and he will continue to int and feed you kills. The one thing about him is he is brazen, he is brash, he does not back down. And I think if TSM try to play through top, I think that they can actually win this game. Through Huni getting 3 or 4 kills. I mean, I think you give him something that he's comfortable on that's in the meta right now. I think you give him something he can carry, give him like a Jace or something. And, maybe you play like, I don't know, like something similar to Jace Jarvan or something like that, right? And I think that could be your win con. You're not going to win through bot lane. I can't imagine that, Ayla and Hansama are going to have much trouble with tactical Yursan. I think Bjergsen's, I know Kaido, I think, said in a stream or something that, Bjergsen's not that great, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, Bjergsen brings it on game day. It doesn't matter about practice. It doesn't matter about scrims. Bjergsen brings it on game day. And I think Santorin and Speak are about equal. While I do think that Bwipo is probably, is better than Huni, I think Bwipo is also tiltable. And I think they might see the same thing. And I think if Spica can have like 2 successful ganks / counter ganks where he can get Huni ahead without Huni getting, wrecked by Santorin or Bjergsen roaming, I think there's a way that they can win this game. It's not likely, but it could happen. Last thing is bring out a surprise pick. I think playing through top would be a surprise, might be enough of a surprise, but bring out a surprise strategy or pick or something, right? Like, really put them on their back toes. Bjergsen, one thing I remember about him being on TSM is teams had to try to cheese or pull out something, to surprise him. While he's not as surprisable as he was, especially when he was younger, if he's taken off the Zillion, right, and if something crazy comes out that he doesn't anticipate, the team sometimes struggles. Team Liquid so far have not batted an eye at it, but I think that that's the way you beat them when you're where we are right now. It's not like we're like the 4th place team or even the 5th place team trying to beat them, right? Where we are bottom of the barrel right now, and if we are needing a win, especially if by some horrific turn of fate we are 1-7 heading into this game, you better just bring out something random. You better just bring out something that they really do not expect, because that's going to be the only way that you could beat them. I'm just going to be honest. Like, yeah, that's the only way it's going to happen. Like, maybe we bring out the Diana Yasuo. I don't even know if that's really still much in the meta. I know it can't be, but that would certainly put them a bit on the back foot, right? So I'm predicting a loss here for sure. Which, knowing me again, that we're gonna walk in here 1-7 and come out, 2-7 because somehow we win. But I just don't see it. I think that this Team Liquid team is like really good. I mean, Upcomer put them in their top 10 in the world. I think that is not completely out of the question right now. They have so much talent on this team, and not just that, but they have such good veterans, such veterans with so much Worlds experience. I mean, you combine Bwipo, Bjergsen, Hansama, and Core JJ's World experience, most teams in the entire world don't have that. I know Santorin's been to Worlds with us and with FlyQuest, but it's not like his is not comparable to the rest of them. That might be comparable to Hansama, but regardless, you get my point. This team is built to win now. This team is built to be amazing currently, and they look it. So, hey, we can pull off a surprise win. I would love that. If by some miracle, by a true miracle, we go 3-0 in this weekend, oh man, that Monday episode is going to be party central. Party central. I might even like literally just sit here and just chat. I might not even do much analysis. Just be like, doesn't matter. We won. Who cares? Oh no, we'll see. We'll see. All right, heading into the last bit here. My overall thoughts. I'm curious. What is the end of support smite meta going to bring for us? We played it 3 out of the last 4 games. We found a myriad of success on it, and we are, unless if there's some major cheese strategy that I haven't heard about yet that is available, similar to support smite top. I wonder what this team's going to do. I mean, are they going to run just a normal Karma top? Are they going to try to still buff up tactical and run Lulu top? I mean, Huni can play a normal Lulu top, but it's not as effective in terms of you can't get too far behind. So I don't see it happening, but it could. I hope not, because I'm also excited to see Huni in a normal role. I mean, gosh, man. We played through him more than anybody else last year. We won a lot of games because of him, and we took him completely out of the game, essentially. He played pretty well. I mean, as well as I think he could have. And I really love and respect this man. Excuse me. He's close to my age. Coming out here and just doing what the team needed to win. Like, I never felt like old Huni was like that, maybe. Not that he was selfish, but it was just like, I don't think anybody was willing to ask him to just like be the support for the team or something like that. And I don't know. I mean, I know he's not the best, but he always seems to be top 5. I just love him on this team, man. I just want to see him do well, similar to Kaido. Tactical had his time. He did well. I think this team's starting to find their footing. It's time to get Huni back into a normal role and let him do his thing. My other thing is, what is acceptable for this weekend? 1-2? Are we going to be okay coming out of this weekend at 2-7? I don't think so. I think 3-6. I think if you come out of this horrific start, 3-6, right, and you win, 3 of your last 5 games, I think that sends a message to the team. I think that sends a message to the LCS that this team's not backing down. Like, they're ready to roll, right? And you can go 6-3 in the latter half, right? If they can transition into being that top 4, top 5 team that we expect them to, that's very reasonable, right? Like, I mean, I look at these teams, I think, okay, if they play a little bit better, I think they can beat Team Dignitas. I don't think Cloud9 are nearly as scary without LS. I think they can, in the second round robin, beat them. I look at Golden Guardians. Very beatable team, right? That was a weird game, but beatable team. I think 100 Thieves are beatable. EG are definitely beatable, although I think they're going to figure it out in the second half. Immortals are beatable. CLG are beatable. The teams that I think FlyQuest is beatable, but I don't really get what's going on with them. So I don't know. I mean, the only teams that I'm like, yeah, like we could win, I think, against every other team except for Team Liquid and a combination of like C9, 100 Thieves, Evil Geniuses, and FlyQuest. I think we could lose 2 of those games and win 2 of the other ones. That gets us to 9-9, and that gets us into the playoffs. That's all we want. We don't expect them to go to MSI. I just want to see them get into a best of series and get some experience as a team there. And I think they have the talent to do it. It's just whether or not they're going to be able to. CLG is a massive game for this team. I mean, there's just no other way to. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We lose that game, and the spring split is over. It's done, in my opinion. There's just no chance that we can come back. I mean, even if we were to beat Team Liquid and 100 Thieves, I guess that would be the only way that they could survive a CLG loss. I think they have to just take it to CLG. I hope that they aren't putting too much pressure on themselves. I hope the coaches don't even mention that to them. I just hope that they, in the back of their minds, know we got to beat CLG. This is where our run starts. Bjergsen revenge game as well. Everybody's going to talk about it. Listen, we are not in the position to be talking about the fact that, that this game's going to mean jack squat really to Bjergsen, other than the fact that he just wants to win it to put it to TSM. Again, I don't think he has any ill will necessarily towards us overall. I just think that, it's something that it will be satisfying, right? And then he will have beaten every team ever in the LCS. There's your storyline. Every team that has basically ever existed in the LCS has lost to Bjergsen, at least through since franchising, right? Boom, there you go. Hook, line, and sinker. Sorry, I hit my mic while doing a little ditty there with my hand that you guys couldn't see. Yeah, I just whatever. I'm gonna look forward. Listen, guys. If TSM aren't gonna make it, I'm gonna support TL and Bjergsen all the way. I just want that to be clear. I am 100% a TSM fan, and I will root for TSM in every situation and against any team, no matter who is playing on it. Hanser was like my favorite player forever, but guess what? When they played TSM, I was still rooting hardcore for TSM, right? I'm just telling you, like, congrats, Bjerg. You created the team that I think you always wanted to have. I wish you nothing but success in every game that does not include TSM's either future or current gaming. And that this is this weekend. Or if maybe you could throw us a bone and int for like the first time in your career, that'd be cool. Playoff run starts here, guys. Pals, ladies, gents, friends, everybody out there, every TSM fan known in the existence of the world. This is it. It is now or never for this team. I will give them the Friday game to potentially lose. But in all reality, you can't lose another game after that. Like, you can, but like, I mean, like, it would be incredible. It would be so crazy to see this team somehow, like, rattle off, what would that be, 12 straight wins to go 13-5 and, like, win the LCS. Chawi would be the greatest mind on the planet. Spica would probably win his second straight MVP. Kaiduo would be the next, I don't know, Bjerg. Huni would be someday, or Impact, one of those two, just get better with age. Right? Aging like a fine wine. Tactical would be like, hey, who's Danny? Who'd that be? Yursan is, I don't know, the next core JJ. That would feel really wrong to say. I still meant it about Shenyi, but I don't know. Yursan has that kind of ceiling. This is it. I mean, this is it. I'm telling you, they have to go, in my opinion, some combination of 8 and 4 to make playoffs. They could get real lucky because it's going to get bloody in the LCS. They could get real lucky and go 7, or what is that? 8 and 10. So 7 and 5. They could go 7 and 5, and I still think make it. Because every team's going to be beating every other team. I mean, that's just going to be how it is. But they're going to have to win some big games over these next 12 games. I mean, big games. It can't just be, we beat, the 4 teams at the bottom. Yay. That gets you maybe 5 wins. Going to have to find 2 more against some of these better teams. Yeah. Last thing here is Dominic's doing damage control. I respect him. I mean, guys, this man was thrown into a literal fire. Like, the SpongeBob meme with SpongeBob's brain or whatever just on fire and everybody's running around trying to figure things out. That's this man. But he is putting out fire after fire after fire after fire with his, I think, calm demeanor and his resolve to keep things together. And no, this is not just because I talked to him, okay? I have to keep repeating that because I have people who have claimed that that's the reason why and that I like him. Like, yeah, he's a cool guy. I did enjoy my conversation, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be willing to I'm not going to change the way that I talk about things, like, in terms of who I know necessarily. Like, that's just not going to be me on this show. Dominic's a great guy. If he starts messing around or making mistakes, I will call him out for it gladly. But right now, I think he's been doing a great job. And I really do think us as TSM fans, like, We should be happy because he also could be pouring like, freaking gasoline onto these fires like some other people have done in the past. That is not the case. Everybody's like, oh, more TSM drama, more TSM drama. Like, I think they clearly talked about this. They made a decision that they thought was best for the team with sending Shen Yi down. I don't think that this was best for the now. I think this was best for the future as much as anything. Everybody knows that Spring Split does not matter unless if you are a team that feels like you are a top 2, maybe 3 team that can go to MSI. And I don't think we felt that even at the beginning of this year. So I think he's doing a great job right now. And we need to make sure we continue to support this team, continue to support the boys, right? And let's hope that we can, if a 2-1 weekend would be just awesome. God, that would be great. We'll see what happens. 2-1 or 3-0, 2-1 or 3-0. That's what we want, fam. If you like this show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment if you're watching on this YouTube, watching on our YouTube channel. Leave me a comment below what you think their record's going to be, by the way. That and, what champions is Huni going to pick this weekend. So 2 things for you. 2 assignments for you, fam. What you think the record's going to be. There you go. There's the first one. Second one, let me know what champions you think Huni's going to play this weekend. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss another episode. Continue to support this podcast and making it, I think, assuredly the number 1 TSM LCS podcast. I don't know if there's any other ones out there. If there are and people are making them, I'd love to, talk with you. I'd love to, do some crossover episodes and stuff. So let me know. Please share this with your friends. You can hit me up at TGH Robert Haynes or the Game House at TGH Esports to see all the things that are happening. Also, make sure that you join the Talking TSM Discord. The 1v1 tournament will be starting soon. They're going to start making brackets here. I believe Ben will be making some brackets here very soon. So you got to join. It's going to be in the description below or in the description of one of the videos beforehand. I know it was definitely in Monday's video. So jump on that if you want to be a part of this 1v1 tournament. Skill levels all over the place. I'll be in it. I will probably lose in the first round, but hey, whatever. I believe it's first tower, first kill, or 100 CS, similar to the All-Star games, which we're talking TSM All-Stars. Come on. Lastly, head to thegamehouse.com. Got a lot of good content coming out. I should have my power rankings out today, here in a couple hours. Don't think you guys are going to like where I have TSM right now, but sorry. Don't hurt me. With that, thank you for tuning in. This show comes out every Monday and Thursday and is still exclusively for your TSM earholes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. I'll see you all on Monday.